Yeah, no, I mean, with pickleball, it's like anyone can actually sign up for the pro level events. Like
Yeah.
as long as you pay, as long as you pay the fees, and the fees are actually very high. They're too high, in my opinion, to play these tournaments. And right now, they're only paying. Well, next year they're paying appearance fees for the top pros, um, but then they're only paying like top three. If you finish top three, you get money. If not, and it's kind of like you need a good partner to do that. Like it doesn't even matter how good you are. Like you need someone who's equally as good. But yeah, I guess I am at the pro level at least. So yeah.
Well, you've been featured on Wilson's Pickleball page a lot,
A
and
lot. Yeah.
which is unreal. I mean, now
Right.
are you the number one Wilson Pickleball paddle player?
Paddle, maybe there's a girl, Maggie, who's very good. But on the men's side, I guess so. Yeah, there's a guy, Zane, who's using their shoes. Um, some other people want to be sponsored that probably have more clout than I do. But as of right now, it looks like I'm the face of Wilson Pickleball, which is a good thing.
You. Wow.
Yeah. Hey,
Very
look at that!
See,
I wore the shirt just for this.
branding.
I'm an ad.
Branding. I love it.
Yeah.
How'd you get into it? Because for a guy that's coached 3 different schools, played college tennis, how did you get into the pickleball world and coaching Shelby Rogers as well? Like you
Right.
had such a deep root in tennis. What made you kind of go in the different direction? Pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a good couple months with Shelby. That's where we met in Indian Wells, you and I, when I was working with her there. So that was kind of my second introduction to the tour. I worked with Ali Red one summer as well. But yeah, we split after Indian Wells, and like I went home to Pennsylvania because my parents didn't want me in Florida. They thought I could potentially have COVID from being in California.
Yeah.
So the house was empty in PA, and I was there for, like everyone else was, quarantined. And all the tennis community in Erie has kind of switched to pickleball. So when I got home, no one was playing tennis. Everyone was playing pickleball. So I lined my tennis court myself with duct tape, made the pickleball line. Someone donated a net. It wasn't even the right net at first, like back in April. And then from there, it just kind of grew. I thought I was good. I got invited to, train down in Florida, ended up training, with the number one player in the world on the men's and women's side for a little bit. And then, I don't know, I was sucked in. It's very addictive if you haven't played.
There's a big program that we're trying to start where I work right now. It's crazy how I think the right word you used is addicting, because I feel like you go from that to this, and then you hear the sounds of pickleball, and you're like, that's like the first thing people hear or like associate pickleball with, right? It's the sound. It's the
right.
I don't even know what kind of sound it is. It's not ping pong. It's just its own sound, pickleball.
Right. It's funny. I have a story. So like we would play, two things why it's addicting, but I'll go to the sound first because you brought it up. So we were playing, my buddies and I, in Erie at like 6 a.m, kind of like just like a for fun thing with my friends that aren't very good, but they're fun to play with. So, and they have real jobs that start at 8 o'clock. So we'd play at 6 a.m. in my neighborhood, and we did it for maybe once or twice a week, for 3 weeks, and finally like 6:15 in the morning, we're playing. My neighbor walks up, and he's just like pissed out of his mind, and is like, "You guys have been waking me up. Like this noise is ridiculous. This ping, ping, ping," and was just like, so he used ping, ping, ping as his words. And I was wearing, how I was doing TikToks for a little bit.
Yes,
I was wearing.
For those.
They're bad. I was wearing a shirt that said that I had Sharpied, "I have no life" on it. So he walked up at 6:15. I'm in a t-shirt wearing "I have no life," playing pickleball, and the guy was like pissed out of his mind.
You still have that shirt?
I think so. Somewhere.
I would love to get that photo and use it for my thumbnail. That would be hysterical.
It's somewhere. I could get it off TikTok, one of the old videos, that's for
All
sure.
right,
But
and we'll put that in right now.
I mean, in terms of like why it's addicting, I think I mean, you have tennis players out here playing. You know, we played with Sam Querrey and Stevie Johnson, and all these guys love it. It's something new. But in terms of people that are like done with their tennis career, like me, older people as well. I mean, there's plenty of younger guys in the sport, way younger than me. It's something you can still get better at. Whereas, like, I feel like obviously my tennis game is just getting worse. Like, I'm not going to ever be at a place where, you know, I was when I was 20 or whatever, you know? So this is something I feel like I can still like compete in. I can get better at. I'm like an athlete again. And that part of it, the fact that you can go out every day and get better at something is like it's addicting. It's like it's a new craft to work on. Like some people get addicted to golf and perfecting their swing. Here for me, it's pickleball.
That's funny. It's like you're reliving the glory days of being a top junior all the time now.
Right.
And you've played a couple tournaments right now, or you have in the past that I've seen on your social. Yeah. What was that experience like, especially during the pandemic? I'm surprised you're even traveling during this.
Yeah, the first one was in California. I just never been to a pickleball tournament. I was I had never played singles before in pickleball. Like I just played doubles in Erie.
Okay.
And played this tournament in Newport, and like they call your name and there's a referee, and like I legit was like nervous. Like I felt like it was like my first junior tennis tournament all over again. I'd lost to a kid I should have not lost to in the singles part of it. And it was just like it was cool. Like I was legitimately like nervous, and I didn't even really know how to like compete again, like to pump myself up and all that stuff. I've played 2 other tournaments since. Doubles is still for me more fun. Like I like it. I feel like there's more like nuances to it. But yeah, the pickleball community, it's like these tournaments are fun. Like they have loud music and they're selling, you know, drinks during it. Obviously the players aren't drinking during, but like there's a decent amount of fans. Like the one in Vegas, I mean, they have that stadium. Yeah, it was huge. And I mean, it's on ESPN3. It's, you know, it's a $150,000 event, the one in Vegas. They're trying to have a $300,000 event in April here in Newport. So wow. I mean, if it gets that kind of money, I mean, that's like an ATP 250 at that point.
That's really, that's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of traveling with COVID, obviously it's a serious thing, but as long as you wear your mask and try to practice social distancing and all that stuff, like I'm not that worried, obviously.
No, that's fine. And people are like that, especially if you're traveling to make money too, or at least make a living. That's what a lot of these players are doing right now is on the tennis side as well. You have tournaments in Cary, and then you have, I think, another one in Orlando. And I don't know why you would still want it in Orlando. You're just going to the places where the restrictions are less, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right. Have you been covering a lot of the pro stuff as well?
I mean, I've been like remotely as much as I can, but now that I'm working full time at 2 different country clubs, it becomes a whole other thing because it goes from teaching, coaching, the videos, and then this. It adds up a lot. So for you as well, like the whole pickleball thing, it's kind of, personally, when I first heard of it, I was like, okay, people would make fun of it, like it's the sport of the future, but now it seems to kind of get some traction. So I would ask you, when people give you maybe shit for it or talk about it in a different way, what do you say to them, or what is your way of going about it when you describe it to someone?
I mean, I think it's, you know, it's not your grandfather or grandmother's pickleball anymore. Like it's a fast sport. You know, this girl that I'm seeing, she came to Vegas with me, and like she loved the tournament, and like all my friends love it, like my young friends. And it's like a quick sport. Like you have to be athletic and fit and have to have good hands. And I think in the fact that, I mean, it's 3.5 million people. It's growing at 10% a year. It's the fastest growing sport in the country. I mean, I think you have more and more athletes getting involved. And honestly, if someone's giving me crap for it, I'm like, dude, just come on court and give it a shot. Like, I'll kick your ass, you know? Like
exactly.
One of my teammates from Purdue, he lives in Newport. and he wanted to try it the other day. So we went out. He's like, dude, I didn't realize like how hard this was. Like
Mhm.
people see it on TV or on videos, and I think tennis players especially think like, oh, it's just mini tennis. They think the racket and the ball responds like a tennis racket and the ball, and they think it's probably really easy.
Mhm.
But then when they realize it's more like a combo between ping pong and tennis,
Mhm.
and the ball doesn't respond the way you want it to, it's a different thing.
So what would you like? What's the age demographic like then? Because I feel like kids. I'm 25, and I feel like people
Mm-hmm.
younger than me play pickleball, but not
Yeah.
to the serious level. Maybe because it's just not that big yet, or is it just?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that profitable yet, I'd imagine. You know, you have these top guys, I'd say probably 10 to 15 of them on the men's side, and then, you know, 5 or so on the women's side that are probably making a really good living with playing these events, traveling to do clinics, teaching themselves, sponsorships, stuff like that. So and then the PPA is doing well with hosting events around the country. So there are people making money. I think it's so new. You know, they've been having these tournaments the last 4 or 5 years. I think COVID has probably launched it to a new level just because, I mean, now it's on ESPN3. They've needed content. But yeah, I mean, the number one player in the world, I think, is like 22 years old. A lot of these guys are in their 20s. There's some teenagers coming up and playing big time pickleball. I think you have a lot of guys like me, like early 30s, that are starting to get into it and realize they can be decent. And it's it's fun, and it's like it's a cool community. Like it's very nice. It doesn't feel like too snooty, and maybe that's because there's not a lot of money in it yet.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, being on tour, going to those events as a coach, and then being around pickleball, it's very like refreshing because it's a whole new scene and just a nicer community. I think.
It's funny because you like start smiling and you start to get excited. It shows like you're like
Yeah.
really into this. Like for you,
Oh
becomes
yeah.
a whole another part of your life, right?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's weird because I've told people like, you know, I've been a tennis coach forever, you know, the last whatever, how many years, 7 years, but it's like, I don't really view myself anymore as a tennis coach. I can always coach tennis. I know I have that skill set. I know I'm good with people, but at the same time, right now, people like, I used to associate myself last 7 years as a tennis coach. Now I'm just like, it's kind of refreshing to have a new outlet for things, and kind of feel like an athlete again. And yeah, I mean, there's a great community. Like already, you know, I come out to California. I've been here a month, and I have games to play every single day. You're invited to a lot of cool things. Some pretty high profile people are playing it. So yeah, I mean, you watch the show Entourage. One of our good buddies plays it. Doug Allen is the creator. So there's just a lot of cool people, doctors, lawyers, whatever that get into it. So it's fun.
That's the weirdest flex I've ever heard in my life. Guess who I play?
I love Entourage.
I love Entourage.
I mean, I love Entourage.
No, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I mean, Fred Savage came out the other day.
That's cool.
So there's, yeah, Stevie, Sam, my buddy Wes Burrows. There's a good group out here.
Yeah, I feel like it's not as expensive. It's just accessibility, which is like in every other sport, right? I mean, there's also like platform tennis out here. I don't know if you guys have that out there on the West Coast. It's like paddle. You play on like a gritty metal crate.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff like that.
Here,
go ahead.
Here, the other big one is paddle, or like pop tennis. Have you heard of pop tennis?
What's pop tennis?
The one that they play in Venice.
Never
Venice Beach. So it's like the racket is like this thick, and it's like a foamy type material with little holes in it, and the ball is a tennis ball, but with a hole popped into it, and it makes like this like hollowy type sound when you hit it, but it's like it's cool. It's like it's more similar to tennis than pickleball.
Is it beach tennis or is it different?
No, it's on like the same size court as a pickle court, but you can like get all the way up to the net. Scott and Austin? You know Scott and Austin Dorner?
No, I'll have to look it up.
They were like the number one doubles team in the world, and now they're playing pickle as well.
Oh wow,
they're really good dudes. Yeah, they played at Pepperdine and DePaul.
It's
tennis.
It's weird how like the tennis community goes away from tennis kind of quickly after they're done with it. What would you have to say about that? Because it seems like that's like a big kind of transitioning into the tennis part of this, like that, how quickly someone's like, how burned you can get, like burned out mentally from it.
Yeah, I think everyone starts in their tennis journey, as a player. They're in it for themselves, but they do it because they love to play, and they have certain goals they want to reach, and they just love the sport. At some point, for a lot of people, it turns into work, whether that be while you're still playing as a college player or as a pro or whatever it may be. It becomes work. And then if you go into the coaching side of it, for me, that definitely became work. And on tour, it's just tough. Like if you're trying to make money out of tennis, it's a hard thing to do. And the opportunities aren't always there, and you might not feel appreciated. And it's just, I think people's idea of making money in tennis or living out their dream is better than when you're actually in it. And I mean, nothing's as satisfying as being a player, to be honest, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it seems more, I wouldn't say luxurious, because we've seen the other side of tennis where it's not even close to what people think of. So when you're not the player and you're waiting around, or you're just like during just downtime without matches being played, or days before it starts and just warming up, it just seems like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not a good feeling. It's like there has to be something going on. Like you can't just
right. And I think that's something that I definitely, I didn't like bash college tennis at the end, but I was like, oh, I'd love the tour, and then when I was on the tour for a little bit, I was like, wow, I kind of miss the college part of it, because I just felt like my day was a little bit more filled with whether it be administrative work or recruiting or helping with the social media account, or whatever it may be to help build the brand of Duke tennis or Oklahoma State tennis or whatever. You had more to your day, maybe even just dealing with more players. You have 8 players versus 1, and on tour, something that I struggled with, just like so much downtime.
Like what do
and
you
it's do? Not and what do you do in it? And it's not your time necessarily to always fill, because last minute you might be pulled away from what you had planned to do something with your player, and that's fine. You're there for them. But I think that's the part a lot of people struggle with, is like your life is solely for someone else, and if you don't feel that the reward is worth it, whether it be monetary or how you feel as a person, then it's not going to be for you. And I think that's what I struggled with, and I'm sure that's what some others may struggle with. And there are plenty of coaches on tour that absolutely love it, but I think it's a balance. And for me, I only did it really short period of time, but the travel, living out of a suitcase isn't that exciting either after a couple of weeks.
It's not. And like people have said on any podcaster who has talked to a pro, it's you're on the road for 9 months out of the year, essentially. And living out of that suitcase can take a mental toll on you, not just you and the player. And
sure.
It was interesting how you said you depended on other people, like you depend on your player to do things, so everything revolves around them. And did you ever feel at some point not stuck, but not independent at all when you were doing it?
I don't know. Like it's a weird feeling, because I think going from college where I was kind of, as an assistant coach, you're not obviously in control, but like,
Yeah.
You're not in control of all decisions, but you're kind of managing the players, and you are the one in control a little bit over them and the schedule, and you kind of make your schedule. To then the flip side where like, you're whatever the player wants you do, whether it be the schedule or activities or, whatever it may be, you're on their schedule, you're on their time, and you're on their dime. So
Yeah. That's the key thing there.
It's a weird feeling.
You're not in control.
And it's not something that I didn't see where it was gonna lead to, really.
Okay.
And I think that's what I struggled with, even in the short time. And I had a blast, and there was a lot of good opportunities, and I learned a ton, and there was some success even in that short 3-month stint, and I'm grateful for it. But it was good I did it, and I don't really have a desire to like be on tour. I think it was a good timing for me to try it out.
Yeah. And I think that's perfect in the way you wrapped it up with, you tried it, you saw how it was, you've taught many things. Racket sports as well, like pickleball,
Right.
college tennis, pro level tennis. And it seems like you have the overall experience to kind of see, all right, this works, this doesn't, how do I feel here, how do I feel there? And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's like, it's a lot of trial and error.
You're right, for sure. And I think, I'm 32, and this is the first time that I felt like young again at 32. Like, I feel like in the tennis world as a coach, you always feel like, oh, I'm getting older. Like, I need something to happen now. Now that I'm out of coaching, I'm like 32. Like, I'm 32. Everyone who's successful in like any other venture in life is like in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Like, there's a lot of time to figure out what's out there and what's going to make you happy professionally, so I'm not as worried as I was, like I think as a college coach, you're always, when am I going to get that head coaching job, when am I going to move on to the next thing? And it's like, I don't know, I think you need to be a little more patient than that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's a perfect ending towards this interview. So Matt, I really appreciate you joining me on my channel today. I mean, do you want to shout out any promo codes that you have for Wilson? I would do it.
Yeah, sure.
Every promo code you have right here is everywhere on the screen. So if you guys some Racquet.
So the holidays are coming. The holidays are coming up. So if you want custom tennis rackets, 25% off. McNasty C-259 is 25% off the custom frames, and then 30% off anything on Wilson pickleball, tennis, or squash. That includes shoes, apparel, rackets, paddles, whatever. 30% off is what is it? McNasty -309. McNasty -309.
You posted it today too for the Wilson.
I did. Yeah, you can find it on McNasty 59.
Sure.
Dude, you gotta come out to California. We'll get you a paddle, and
please. I would love to. We're doing it.
I got a couch. You could crash on the couch for the weekend, and you'll be good to go.
Thank God. So Matt, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you guys want to check out Matt Pickleball McNasty on his Instagram, so go check him out. I'll leave all the links to his socials down in the description below. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.